So guys, very good morning. My name is TN Pradeep Kumar Naidu and I'm representing Nikit Engineers. We run this channel on how to automate welding. So the topic that we're going to discuss today is on WAAS. That's Welding as a Service. What is Welding as a Service? Most of you would be very much familiar with SAAS, that's Software as a Service. So we brought in this new term or this new particular technology in India where it's not more like a technology but like a service where welding can be opted as a service. As you can understand how software as a service works, in a similar manner, in case a customer wants to weld his components, they can log on to our web page or they can contact us and they can understand how we charge per gram. Yeah, you heard it right. In WAAS or Welding as a Service, what we offer is the entire package of welding. We offer it as a per gram rate basis. This is more convenient for both the customer and as well as us because the kind of weld bead that they need, let us say for a 6 mm component, for a 6 mm plate to be welded on a 3 mm diameter tube, they need a 3 mm weld bead width and the diameter of the component is about 25 mm, that is about 1 inch. So what happens is 25 into 3, that's pi, 3.14, let's assume it's 3, so 25 into 3 times, that's about 75 in length. That becomes the weld length for a weld bead of 3 to 4 mm. For a 3 to 4 mm weld bead and for a length of 75 mm, we shall calculate what is the grams that we have deposited. Basically this we do it in a particular ratio. For example, for every 100 mm of 5 to 6 mm weld bead, there's a deposition rate of 20 grams. So for every 100 mm, if it is 20 grams, then for 1 mm of for 1 gram, that's 5 mm of weld bead that you can deposit. This is a simple ratio that we have calculated, and we want this particular ratio to be understood by all our customers because that is very important. As you know, all these days, even now, people consider welding as a very dirty job because of the kind of fumes that it emanates and the kind of the kind of pre-weld process that is required, right from cleaning, then post-cleaning, then the kind of fumes that really bothers the welder, and basically health hazards of the welder itself. So in the long run, people have started automating their entire welding process, but though automation doesn't percolate into every industry right now, people are really migrating into automation in a vast area of work. But there are a lot of areas where people are still hesitant into migration of automation, complete automation. So what happens there? What is the criterion there? So the biggest problem even they face is health hazard and regular issue with the welder being sick, or there is no consistency in welding because they're completely dependent on an operator. So what we are trying to do here is we are not going to bring in a welder to weld your component, but we are going to design a machine or a standard machine, let us say a profile welder, a cylinder welder, an orbital welder, or even a circular welder. Based on your component, the machine is made available at our facility and our operator will start welding your components. So what happens is when we go through a process right from T1, we call the trials, first stage of trials as T1. When we start taking trials, we tell the customer that even the trial component is being charged at. So we charge a nominal fee per component, and for the initial setup, that is your fixture cost is being charged by us, even the design cost is being charged by us, and the integration cost, that's in between 5 to 10% is being charged by us. So you follow these 3 steps and then you can opt in for a lot of other stuff. Now to make these things completely viable and clear, we have set up a channel or a website called thewelder.in. You can go check out the web page, or in a minute or so we will start discussing about how the entire website looks, what we are offering there, how per inch cost is going to work really well for the customers, right from pre-weld process to post-weld process, what are the integrations that are required for your component, and it is totally focused on MIG. As of now, we have started with MIG. Slowly we're going to process into TIG, but more about the website in a little while, guys. Before that, why did we get into this business? It's very interesting, as most of our customers who wanted to invest on welding automation always thought about one critical issue, that is, if there is a production delay, or if there is a production stoppage, if there is a reduction in production, then how are we going to tackle that? By investing in a very huge setup like this. So welding automation basically is expensive based on your application. For example, a simple circular welder from Niket would cost you about 99,000. It starts from 99,000. Then you have a product of complete process automation from our civil automation website. You can go check out that as well. We'll do a complete review on that later. So on civil automation, the entire process welding automation takes place. So the cost there ranges between 2 crores to about 4 crores. We have different set parameters and different categories of welding automation where the cost implies. But talking about how the initial investment is going to affect the customer, if the production rate is good, or if the volumes are good this month, then the customer is benefited. But what happens in the coming months if the volume decreases, if there is a sudden surge of volume? And the biggest challenge he might face is hiring a very good operator himself. But to do all of this, he needs to initially invest and then try to understand whether the productivity is proportional to the kind of demand that the customer is looking at. So all these factors play a major role in how we decided to get into welding as a service. What we do is we allow the customer to just sit back, relax, give them the right parameters in trial stage 1. We try to manipulate into different stages. For example, one component has got about 100 amps and 10 volts or 20 volts. The other component of the same manner, or the same component, another piece, we do it in a different amps and different volts and different speed of weld. So the finish varies. We do about 3 to 4 different levels of finish, give it to the customer, ask him for his approval, because there are plethora of options which the customer is very concerned about. For example, he might be concerned about the kind of penetration he needs. Few people require, or a few applications definitely need a lot of penetration, and few applications demand absolutely no penetration. So these are jobs which are productively really high, and jobs which are really accurate and for very high application requires a very good penetration. So basically a lot of options. Based on this, we do our trial 1, and we give customer a lot of option as to which particular parameter he is okay with, or the customer that they are supplying are satisfied enough. We ask them to test it, we make sure the testing is right, and then we make an SOP of it, a standard operating process. And when we start doing that, then starts the actual procedure. These procedures start from a process called T2. T1 is the trial 1 and T2 is the actual production start process, where based on the SOP, based on the master sample that we have done or we have given to them for approval, all the components should come at the same particular speed, at the same particular penetration levels, and at the same kind of weld bead. They should not vary. That's what SOP does. Once you set the particular parameters, once you fix it, once you even have a master sample, you relate to that. So the operator is very clear. You don't, and the biggest advantage here is once T1 stage is set up by a professional, T2 stage we can deploy our operators. You don't need a professional welder here. Basically, a normal, basic skilled operator does the job fine. Talking about how we build this momentum, for example, today the production levels are 50 numbers. Tomorrow there's an increase or a surge in production. Then we have multiple machines for it, and based on your component, let it be a profile or a circular, based on it we allocate our machines. So that's it on the entire basics of how we started welding as a service. Let us show you a lot of stuff on the website where we have given most of the costings, most of the technical details are very clear. So let's see there, guys. So here we are on our website, thewelder.in. As you can see, basically a clear picture of what we are offering. That is MIG welding at 4 rupees and at 0.2 USD per gram. This is as welding as a service. So what you can do here is you can either write us more about your component, you can give us a call. The best thing that you can do is just click on book online. Once you click on book online, it'll get onto another page where you can fill out this particular form, which is very clear about what we need about your component. Basically your name, your profile, your phone number, your mail ID, and your requirement. You have to type in your requirement based on production rate, weld speed, and delivery schedule. All those things are really which you are particular about. Then you can upload your drawings, and if you have an NDA agreement, you can also upload that so that we sign it in for you and send it back. Only then you can further send us the drawing. You can also send us any relative documents, as in the weld document, the welding standard, and other stuff for us to understand your component better. So let's go back to the web page. If you see the web page, it's very clear as to what we are offering, and we've given a clear outlook of how it works. What we've specified here is 3 things that we focus on, that is to quantify your weld. Before you give us whatever component or whatever type of component you have, basically everything related to MIG welding. As of now, we offer only MIG welding. Further down the line, we would like to extend our services to TIG and TIG with wire feeding. So how this entire WAAS works. The first process is you need to quantify your weld. That is, calculate the right amount of welding deposition you need. Or in case you have a standard drawing from your customer, you can pass it on to us through our book online page, where most of the data is read by our experts and a feedback is given on that. Based on that, the quotation is also sent. Here's an example of how it all works. For example, a 6 mm weld bead width to be welded on a 31.75 mm diameter component, the bead length would be 100 mm. That's basically pi d, for which the deposition required is 16 grams. It is an assumption it can go up to 20 grams. So you have a ratio of 1:5. That is, for every gram, there's a 15 mm weld bead that I can achieve with a 6 mm weld bead width. So that's the ratio that we work on. Now coming back to select our weld services, you can go to our services, select all the process that you want. Here we have, let me elaborate on the kind of services that we are offering. Let me go back to the kind of services that we are offering. It is really important, as we have classified our services into 3 categories. One, pre-weld process packages. The second one, the welding process itself, and the third one being post-weld packages. Now let us look at why we split these packages into pre-weld, weld, and post-weld. In pre-weld, there's a lot of detailing that gets into the component before the component is being welded. For example, you want us to develop a fixture for this component. You take in a component from your third party, or it's your own component, you want us to weld it. So first thing that we do is charge you for the fixture design. It runs at about $10 an hour or 300 rupees an hour. And our designers will design a beautiful fixture based on the experience that we have for the component being welded. Then we send this design for design approval process. That's our common practice. Then we get into fixture manufacturing. This is done at actuals plus 10%. At actuals, meaning whatever is the bill of material We send it to 3 vendors. Whatever is L1, that is the lowest uh, proposal, we add about 10% for the integration charges and relate to it so that we confirm on it. Next is fixture integration. See, look at fixture integration. Once it's designed, once it's manufactured, they need a particular uh, element, that is a proper assembly, a proper testing procedure. All these things are very, very important for any component to be welded. Now, assembly and testing is done with the right SOP and right sequence. This program, of course, will be sacrosanct. This will never change once the SOP is determined. So we charge about 500 rupees or $20 an hour on this. Now, talking about the weld process itself. In case you do not want any of the above processes, like you have designed your own fixture, you've designed or you manufactured your own fixture, and you've already integrated it. For example, you have a ready fixture which can be directly put on our system or uh, clamped on our system. Then what we do is we first integrate component study. Component study relates to about what kind of weld bit you need and what is the right uh, the time required for the welding. So all these are classified into component study. So we charge about 2,500 and about $40 for each component that we do a study on. Then we get into Simply Weld. For Simply Weld, what we charge is about 4 rupees per gram of weld bead deposited on your component. This is basically MIG welding. The third process we follow. So in standard operating procedure, we charge about 5,000 rupees, $90. Generally, we give the entire standardized welding parameter data sheet for the customer for the future approvals and for future processing. Next, moving on to post-weld packages. What we look at here is the cleaning process, because most of our components are being welded in MIG. We also use only argon CO2 mixture. We don't directly use CO2 so that there is less of spatter. But in spite of all this, we do undertake cleaning, and the charge for us is just about 2 rupees per component or about $0.10 per range. And then is packaging. We charge for packaging, that is per kg. And then shipping is at actuals. So having a clear picture of what we are trying to do in this scenario is very clear for the customer to understand. Then moving back to the main page, we also have a case study that we have done here. So yeah, before getting into the case study, we finished what are our services. We would like to focus on if in case you have a requirement which is a special one where we need to build or we need to set a particular parameter, experiment on it, do some research, then you can definitely write to us. For example, we work on a plethora of platforms from aluminium, copper, stainless steel, and titanium. So you can write to us and we will hear you out, we will reply back as soon as possible. So that it will be a very great experience either ways. Now talking about our blog, here's a clear example of what we've been doing in the entire process of the Welder.in, like how WAAS works. It gives a very deep knowledge for the customer to understand. So this is from a customer. Customer's name is Group CNC. This is from him. So basically, they are into insertion paint, grinding, manufacturing, processing, a lot of stuff for the export market. They came up with a peculiar issue or a common problem. That's for welding these insertion pins. And what we did was, this was the first stage. They sent us a drawing or a picture. There's a drawing as well with it, which we're not able to show it here. So once we see the component, once we understand the drawing, that is the kind of deposition required, the deposition rate provided there was about 6 to 8 mm for both. That is, on the top there's a 360-degree weld, and at the bottom there is a small curvature welding that is close to about 180 degrees. So we started the process and did our common T1 practice. That's the first stage of trials. This was the finish that you can see. Once this finish was done, we sent these components back to the customer. The customer quality department asked us to complete the portion of weld here. If you see, it's exactly at 180. They wanted a little bit of overlap and they marked the component where they want the overlap to occur. So what we did was, did it again with T2. We set this parameter and started production. Once this component, stage 4, got approved, stage 4, you can see there's a bit of an overlap, or there is a bit of an angular increase in the second step of welding. After this, we start doing the batch production. This is our final stage. So here, what we undertake is, they wanted cleaning, they wanted complete clear sorting out of the component. So based on their requirement, we do batch production. So guys, this is how the entire the welder platform works, and we'll be very happy to help you out here, since we've got close to about 40 years of experience into welding, and it'll be great for us to understand all your future needs. So please do not forget to subscribe. You can also get onto our different other platforms. You can get onto our YouTube channel, The Nikith Engineers. You can get onto our websites, civilautomation.com. You can get onto our other platforms like nikithrobotics.in and nikithengineers.in. So that's it guys for today. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.